Hello, good to be with you all. I was recently in Japan and I saw a friend of mine named Ken. And the day that I saw him, something was bugging me. Somebody said something I didn't like, and it was kind of like a niggling, annoying thought in the back of my head. Not much, but enough to irritate me. And Ken told me that he had been with a woman for quite a few years, and she needed a kidney transplant. And so he very kindly offered to be a donor. And in Japan, they have a law that you can't donate a kidney unless you're a relative. So they finally got married after many years, and he's going to donate the kidney in a month or two. And what got my attention was his kindness and his generosity. He's also a bodybuilder, and lots of bodybuilders have a very high priority on physical perfection and health. And so for him to donate a kidney was a huge thing. For anybody, it is. And I thought, I was worried about this little tiny nothing. And here's somebody who did an act of grace. And the message said, Alan, remember what's important. Some things matter and some things don't. Reminded me of a T-shirt I saw years ago. It said, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And whatever you think the main thing is, you'll keep it. So another T-shirt that said, baseball is life. Everything else is details. And so what you value will rise to the surface of your life, and you'll give that your attention. So you might want to think for a moment about, what am I giving my attention to? Am I giving it to stuff that's really important, or am I letting myself be distracted by details and work and obligations and ego and insults? And it's very easy to get distracted, isn't it? When I was coming back into the US, I had to clear immigration in Honolulu. And there was kind of a long line behind me. And I got to the booth where the attendant checks your passport and all that. And at that moment, there was a child, a baby in line that started crying quite loudly. And I looked and saw there was a mother and a father and a toddler and this little baby that was screaming. And so this passport agent, the customs agent, he did something I'd never seen anybody do before. He got up out of his booth and he snaked his way through the line until he found the family with a crying baby. And he ushered them past everyone else in line, and he cleared them through customs and through immigration, and the baby stopped crying. And it occurred to me that in that moment, he reversed the law. Now, the law is that it was supposed to go through the line and wait. But immigration is usually not a happy place, not a celebratory place. People are just waiting to get done. It's a formality. But in that moment, he offered an act of compassion and kindness that superseded the rules of a fairly serious place. And it says in the Course in Miracles that a miracle reverses the physical laws. In other words, and it's not just physical laws, but it's the mental and social laws we make as well. So we have all of our ideas about how life works. A lot of them are regimented. A lot of them are fear-based. And then somebody comes along who does something that rises above, and at least in that moment, negates or reverses the laws that we expect. When I did my coaching room class the other day, someone said that she wanted to quit being a low vibration individual, an LVI, and she wants to become an HVI, a higher vibration individual. And so every now and then it comes along in the course of a mundane life, an individual who breaks the accepted law and affirms a higher law. And A Course in Miracles lesson number 76 is, I'm under no laws but God's. And the laws of God are permanent, and they're all loving laws. And lots of rules that people make are just rules, they're not laws. For example, we have a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, and nobody really goes 50. If you're going 50, people will go by you and flip you the bird because you're going too slow. So 50 appears to be the law, but really 95% of the people do a different kind of law. So that's not a law, it's a rule. So man makes rules, people make rules, but God makes laws. And the good news is that God's laws are laws of love, the laws of grace and forgiveness. If you're afraid of God, it's because you think that God is a punitive God. But Jesus and other spiritual masters taught that God is grace. God is not a punishing God. God is not a wrathful God. I think Voltaire said, God created us in his image and likeness, and we return the compliment. In other words, we made up God in the image and likeness of a vengeful, wrathful, vindictive human, which is true of a lot of people, but it's not true of spirit. So once again, every so often, somebody comes along that says, "Wait a minute, I'm going to live by a higher law." I remember once I had to change my airplane ticket coming back from San Francisco to Hawaii. And at that time, they had stiff change fees. If you change your ticket, they added a big fare on. And I canceled my original flight. And I showed up at the airport the next day, hoping to get on a flight and hoping that the change fee would not be too high. So I presented my old ticket to the agent. I said, "Can I get on such and such a flight today?" So he looks at his computer, studies for a minute. He goes, "Well, this here computer says I'm supposed to charge you $400 more to get on this flight today." He said, "But I'm not a very good reader. So here's your ticket. Have a nice flight." And I thought, in that moment, he showed me grace. He wasn't a good reader. I mean, he was a good reader, but he made believe he wasn't. And I thought, in my life, what situations am I being too good of a reader in? In other words, holding people to rules and laws and obligations. And if I wasn't such a good reader, how would I release people? So here's where judgment comes in. Judgment is you're reading the laws down to the jot and tittle, and you are living in a mindset of judgment. We all do it more or less. But A Course in Miracles says that when you judge somebody, you're holding them in jail, but you have to sit at the door of their cell to make sure they don't escape. And so you're in jail with them. So whenever you judge, you're stuffing yourself into a limitation as well as the person you're judging. You can't escape judgment because the judgment has to go through you. Not that God's punishing you, it's that judgment is a mentality. And so when you're judging somebody else, you're also you cannot judge somebody else and escape judgments. You can't. And you cannot forgive someone else and escape forgiveness yourself. So we need to daily remember what's important, remember what's real. I remember years ago, my partner and I were purchasing checks for a new checking account, and we got to pick out little logos that the check company will put on your check below your signature. And we picked out the one, remember what's important. And it's really cool with money transactions because in money transactions, it seems like the money is important. and it is in its own way. But really, there are higher things that are more important than love. So when we get into the flow of giving love through money, which is the whole purpose of money, really, money takes on a whole different meaning. I've worked with for many years with Hay House, great publishers, were founded by Louise Hay. And when I started receiving royalty checks from Hay House, Louise Hay sent a personal note saying, "I love paying my authors royalties." And in a way, that kind of reverses what we've been taught to believe about money. I grew up in a culture that said that you get as much money as you can, and you give as little money as you can. You get a lot and give a little. And a good deal is one in which you got a lot of money, but the other person didn't. One of my friends spent a day. There was this deal in his town where he wanted to buy a big screen TV, and these two stores said, "Well, no, we will not be undersold." And so he spent a whole day of his life going back and forth between the two stores, trying to get them to underbid each other. And he got like $50 or $100 off. I don't know, not much really, ultimately. But so was it really worth a day of this man's life to go back and forth between these electronic stores trying to get them to underbid each other? I mean, I could personally think of better ways to spend my day. So, I have to personally each day practice remembering what's important. And I get distracted by my work. Sometimes I get upset about something, get busy. And, my priorities are my family and nature and connecting with people and having some fun. Fun is a good priority too. With a lot of my clients, my coaching clients could benefit from greater self-care, greater self-nurturing. I would say almost all of my clients under-nurture themselves. They're busy taking care of the world. I spoke to a woman recently who, and this is not uncommon, as a child, her mother was mentally not healthy, and she had to raise her mother. Her father was absent, and she had several younger siblings that she had to raise. So she was totally in charge of her whole world. And she grew up being hyper responsible. Like she has to take care of everybody. She has to fix everybody. If anything happens to anybody, it's her job to remedy it. And she's been way out of balance because she's, a caregiver. She needs to give herself some care. So when we're remembering what's important, it's so important to remember, well, am I taking care of myself? Am I getting massages? Am I walking in the woods? Am I listening to music? Am I watching funny videos? Am I going out to dinner? Am I connecting with friends? Years ago, I saw a bumper sticker that said, "No one has pictures of their office at home." But we do have pictures of our family in our office. And I used to see this bank teller, and all the walls of her cubicle were filled with her kids and her grandkids and parties and dogs and celebrations. It was like a little party unit for her cubicle. So she lightened her workload by all these lovely pictures of her family. But I guarantee you that at home, she did not have any photos of her teller's cubicle. So, but we do take our work home mentally and psychically, do we not? We have all these wonderful labor-saving devices, time-saving devices. The question is, what do we do with the time we've saved? Well, if we work more, you're not really saving time. You're not saving time for yourself. You're just investing more in your work, which is okay, but is that really a priority? And when I was in Europe, one of my friends told me there's a law. It's in Germany and France. I don't know how many other countries where an employer is not allowed to email or phone an employee after 5 p.m. or on weekends or on vacations. So they take it very seriously to draw a line between work and self-nurturing. So this might be a fun week to think about, what's important. And if I left this planet tomorrow, if I went to heaven and do where people go, could I say that this day was well spent? And if you can, you're onto it. If you can't, then you got to make some changes. Before I go to sleep each night, I review my day. And I think of what are the good things that happened today. And it's really cool because during the day, I didn't think there were many good things that were happening because I was busy. But when I'm reviewing my day at night, I think, well, I had a lovely breakfast and I enjoyed my partner and I played with my dogs for a bit. And then when I went into town, somebody let me into traffic from a side street. And then I laughed with the grocery store clerk and I found the food I was looking for. And then I saw a beautiful sky and a beautiful ocean. And I was like, wow, a lot of really cool stuff happened today that I wasn't even aware of. I just took for granted while it was happening. But if we can just raise our antenna, I mean HVI, an high vibration individual, we can keep that vibration throughout the day by continually focusing on what am I doing, what's important. Now, you don't want to be neurotic about it, but you do want to stay in that high vibration. And, appreciation is one of the highest vibrations. Abraham Hicks says that the vibration of gratitude is the highest vibration closest to God. And so that if you are, let's say you don't have a prayer practice or meditation practice, but you're grateful, then you're living in a very, very close to God. So a lot of us could practice some more gratitude, couldn't we? Remember what's important. Well, let me give you one little reminder about my upcoming course, and I will close with a nice visualization. We're starting next month, May, on a 10-week adventure of mastery of spiritual writing. We're going to have 10 live interactive webinars, plus there's a 20-lesson online course. And if you are a writer or would like to become a writer, we'll get you started on starting your book, screenplay, poetry, or blog. Get past fears and blocks, release your creativity, get your writing published, and join with the spiritual community and supportive community. We'll be in beautiful Kauai for the optional retreat at the end of June. And then we're going to have some wonderful, wonderful guest speakers, Jennifer Hadley, Deborah Engel, Ken Honda, who's Japan's premier spiritual inspiration and lighter. So if the writing urge is with you, this will be an amazing, life-transforming week and 10 weeks to really change your writing life. Remember what's important. Okay, as always, we're going to close with a moment of deep knowing. So if you just close your eyes with me, take a breath. If you can, close your eyes. If you're driving, please don't. Okay, so let's take a breath. And I'd like you to do a little lighthearted introspection. So if you had to say 3 things in your life that are really meaningful to you, the things that when you do them, you feel like, yes, I'm truly being myself, I'm really in my right place. What are the 3 most important things in your life? Just take a moment to think about it. And as you tune in on these actions, notice that your heart starts to warm and your energy starts to raise. And you start to feel lighter and freer. Because when you're doing what's important to you, you're You're fulfilling the will of God. And the will of God is for you to be happy. There's no other will that God has. And now ask yourself, am I really allowing these three activities to assume the proper place in my world? Or have I allowed other things to encroach, which we all do? But take one more moment out to think about, if I really did those things that make my soul sing, how could I do more of them? How could I do them more often? And what would my life be like if I allowed what's truly important to be the main thing? So hold the vision now of you doing those things more and more, and feeling the deep inner reward of integrity. When I do what I believe in, I'm really in integrity with myself and the universe. And so in this moment, I'm remembering what's important, and I'm holding a deep and strong intention, asking Spirit to co-create it with me, to live the life I was meant to live. And as I do that, I remember why I'm here, and my life is a contribution to me and the planet. So feel free to stay with your meditation or exit it in your own way, take a breath or two. So to me, this time has been important. I thank you for sharing with me. I will look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Much love.